Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell by the title down below, this recipe is going to be how I do a spring roll. Every time I make spring rolls, it's always pork and vegetables. You can obviously do just meat ones, just vegetable ones, do different meats, but I just like them with pork and vegetables. So I'll show you guys ingredients and obviously the steps on how to do it. I'll try not to chit chat too much, so we'll just go straight into showing the ingredients and we'll just get started. So for the ingredients today, I got 500 grams of pork mince here. I got half a cabbage. I don't think I'll probably use a full half. Definitely use at least half, if not more, but obviously when I do it and when I start cooking and prepping everything, I'll let you know exactly how much I do use. I got 3 carrots just because they are quite small. I got some garlic here. I'm probably going to try and find like maybe 4 or 5 of the biggest cloves to use that. I got 1 onion, some canola oil to fry them. Some ginger here. If you had fresh, I'd use fresh, but there's not much left at all in this jar, so I'm just going to use the rest of that. And also I use the noodles, so just like the thin, clear noodles. So yeah, and then with the seasonings or sauce, obviously I'll use salt and pepper as well, but I got some soy sauce, lime juice, sesame oil, and a bit of fish sauce. So again, I'll just go through the sauces and the quantities when I do it. It would only be a very little amount of each because I don't want a saucy thing, because you obviously have to wrap it up in the spring roll wrapper and deep fry it. But you don't want it dry either, so you try and get it in between. And I do have the sheets of spring roll wrappers that are just in the freezer because I won't be needing them for quite a while, so I'm keeping them in the freezer for now. So the first step is obviously preparation. So the first thing with preparation I've done is taken out the noodles from the packaging, popped them in a glass bowl, or any kind of bowl really, just a big enough bowl that can fit all of them, and get them completely covered and soaked with some cold water. My packaging says it needs to be soaking for 15 minutes. Normally it can soak for longer. In my experience and the type that I use, it's fine if it goes for longer, so I always just do that first, because if it doesn't soak enough, it is a kind of pain in the ass to use and cook with. So that's soaking. Now I'm going to start with the vegetables. So with the cabbage, I just chopped it up to just some strips. It's not super fine, but it's not super chunky, kind of in between. You can make it finer if you want. And now with the onion, I just pretty much chop off the 2 ends and peel my onion and cut it in half. And I want like matchsticks, kind of matching the cabbage. So just to cut that, normally like majority of times I'll cut my onions this way, but for this recipe I want to cut them this way. So this is where your 2 ends were, and it just gives it a nice, more straighter matchstick kind of shape. So just work and do it kind of fine. My knives are really blunt, but there we go, that's good enough. So as you can see, they're quite nice in shape, and obviously once they break up, I'm not going to be separating them, they'll break up when they cook, but they're a lot more of a straighter cut, and still in that matchstick kind of formation, I don't know what I'm saying. So yeah, that's how I'm doing the onions, well, the onion. Alright, so now all my vegetables are chopped up. So as I explained before, the cabbage is just my matchsticks. You saw me do the onion. I just grated the carrot, and then I just minced the garlic as well. I got all of my other ingredients next to the stove top ready for when I need to use it. I got the mince there as well, and I'm just waiting for my pan to heat up, and then we'll start cooking. Alright, so now the pan's nice and heated. I'm not going to add any oil because obviously mince is quite fatty just as it is. So I'm just going to break this up. You kind of want to get it as small as possible, like the smallest chunks as possible. And I'll just keep frying it until it's all nice and brown, and then that's when I'll add the veggies. And I'm just going to chuck all the veggies in together all at once. Alright, so now as you can tell it's all brown and you can see there's quite a fair bit of juices. I'm going to keep the juices in here, and that's just pretty much just the fat from the meat, because the cabbage and the carrot and the onion are going to like really soak it up and absorb it. So with that being said, I'm going to just dump it all in now. I'll start with the cabbage because that's going to take a bit to wilt down, so I'm just going to do that first. It's okay if I get a bit of other stuff in. Give that a quick mix. I was gonna dump it all in together, but like I said, there's quite a bit of cabbage here, and the cabbage as well is probably, I would say, 4 to 5 cups of raw cabbage. With that half that I showed, I used just over 3/4 of it. And yeah, so I'll just wait till this wilts down a little bit just so I have more room in my pan, and then I'll just chuck all the other veggies in. Alright, so I've been stirring it almost constantly for the last 15 or so minutes. I would let it sit for a couple of minutes and then get back to stir it. You don't want to leave it to sit for too long. But as you can see, it's all nice and soft and wilted. I think I should have I think I should have done the cabbage a little bit more finer than what I have had done, but that's okay, this will still work. Now I'm going to add in the seasonings, and also from start till now, I always forget to mention temperatures. From start to now, this was a medium-high heat. Now just turn it down to a low to medium heat. Alright, so now the seasonings. I'm going to use the rest of the ginger in this jar, which is probably about a teaspoon worth. Realistically, well, we love the flavour of ginger, and like majority of my recipes, it's all depending on whoever's taste. Like a lot of my recipes is just, you just kind of do it for your taste and your own liking. We like ginger. I would normally double the ginger I have here, so I'll do 2 teaspoons, but I don't have that much, so just 1 teaspoon. With the lime, I'm just going to do about a teaspoon as well. Sesame oil, about a teaspoon as well. Fish sauce, we'll just go a teaspoon as well. And with the soy sauce, I'll do about a tablespoon worth. And I only want a little bit of salt, because obviously soy sauce and fish sauce and all of that is a bit salty. And then crack in some black pepper. And one ingredient I did forget to mention is a teaspoon of sugar, just to balance it out a little bit and just to make it not so tart. Now what I'm going to do is just to see how much liquid I actually do have in here. So I'm just tilting the pan to one side. It doesn't seem to be too much, but I'm going to do it. If it was like less than this, probably half this amount, I probably wouldn't worry about this step. But what I'm going to do is add in some corn flour mixture. Just a very teeny tiny bit. So I'm going to mix it up in this ginger jar just to try to get the little last bits of this ginger out. So I only need a very little bit of this mixture. This is completely optional. I'm going to do about a teaspoon, and I just added a very little amount of cold water, mixing this all up so it gets the lumps of the corn flour. And what this pretty much does is just thicken up the juices, and it's kind of like an edible glue in a way. But yeah, like I said, definitely an optional step, but I've decided to do it. So the heat will just thicken up that mixture. So you definitely want to make sure when you do corn flour slurries, I think they're called. That's what I know them as. I don't know if that's what the actually called. Oh, this piece is a bit chunky and white. I'll take that piece out. Yeah, it's just gonna make it nice and compacted, and it'll also be handy for when you bite into it as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't come falling out of the spring roll when you bite into it. So alright, so last step of actually cooking the mixture is the noodles. So just with a clean pair of scissors, I'm just giving them a rough chop. And I'm just going to add a handful at a time to the mix. So add in a bit more and mix. Bit more and mix. We'll do one more little bit. Mix this in, and then I think that'll be enough with the noodles. So I used about half of the noodles that I prepared, and I prepared the full packet. Alright, so now that is all done and finished, I'm turning it off the heat. I'm going to clean up my my space next to it. So I'll clean that up. I'll now move this over to that side. I'll let it cool completely, but I will cover it with some foil or a lid if you have a lid for this size. I don't have a lid for this pot, so I mean pan. So I'm going to cover in foil and just let it cool completely. The foil will obviously make some more moisture, which will be just the juices. It doesn't matter. It won't be too much, and with the corn flour mix in it already, it will just thicken it up itself. So nothing to worry about there. This is the spring roll papers that I'm using. That's just in the freezer section next to normal pastry at the supermarket. So when you open the box, it comes in a bag. I've opened up the bag, and I'm just gonna like take one sheet off at a time, but leave the rest in here because the air will dry it out really quickly. Honestly, the hardest part about it is probably ripping off the pastry. Okay, so this part here is facing me. I want a scoop of mixture. And a little bit more. You don't want to make it skinny and floppy and no good, and you also don't want to overstuff it. And there's another thing as well that people tend to kind of stuff up on when making these is they'll make it thicker in the middle compared to the sides. So you obviously just want to make sure it's the same thickness right from the edges of your meat right across for all of it. And again, leaving a couple of centimeters on each side here. So we'll bring that up and roll it right over. And once that's right over, these are almost level to the points. Bring it across and across, and you wanna, it's okay if it does lift up like this, because yeah, you don't want it too flimsy. So put it down there. And now you just really try and delicately try and make a tight-ish fold, but if you go too hard and too tight, you will tear the paper. Dip my finger in some water and just put some water on this whole triangle. A little bit goes a long way. You just want to get it a nice coating, and then keep being nice and firm with it. Roll it all the way up. Make sure that's nice and shut off, and there we go. And for mini rolls, you grab your sheet, cut it in half with a sharp knife. So then you obviously got a rectangle that can go in half. And exactly the same as one of the spring rolls that we were just doing, except it's just a mini version. So Obviously smaller amount of mixture. It is going to be a smaller gap around the outside, but you still do want to try and get a gap. And the exact same thing. Fold it up, roll it, do the sides, and the other side. It's just smaller ones are a bit trickier because you just have less room to work with, and I've probably overfilled this one as well. Wet the finger and yeah, I've definitely overfilled this one. So yeah, as you can kind of see there, I've definitely overfilled it, but that's okay. It's still, this side looks alright. Oh, this is so blurry. So that side looks okay. This side is overfilled. Try all these bad boys out. So this is one of the larger ones. I'm going to chuck 2 in. I think it's hidden enough. Maybe. Yeah, should be alright. Yeah, so I'm just chucking 2 in. I obviously don't want to overcrowd the pan. I'm just going to use chopsticks just to keep rotating them through the oil. You just want to fry it just until the outside is nice and brown. And my heat is on a medium heat. Alright, so these have been frying for, I'd say 3 to 4 minutes. Obviously, these are the first lot, so it will take a little bit longer. I'm going to pull it out now. So 2 out, 2 more go in. And yeah, so my station of working now, I got the ones need to be fried there. I'm frying there, and then the ones that I've done are over there. Alright, so they're all finished frying. They look amazing. I'm so happy with how they've turned out. Pretty much what I'm going to do is I'll stack them up onto a plate here. I got a bowl in the middle. This dipping sauce for spring roll, where am I? Yeah, this dipping sauce for spring rolls is the absolute best dipping sauce. Just look at that. So good. So definitely recommend purchasing this. You can get it like at Coles or Woolies or whatever. But anyway, plating up. Nick and I like to share our plates. So we're going to share these ones. I'm going to leave one of these cool ones to taste though. Do it on camera, so I'll just grill it. They've kind of cooled down, not the most recent ones, but these ones have cooled down a bit. Oh, and also with these rolls, not one of them, so here's a close-up of it fried. But yeah, not one of them unraveled or burst open or anything, which is amazing. Except this was, oh, this one's hot. That was the very first mini one I done, which I overfilled. And it didn't even, I thought it might have unraveled and completely came out, but it didn't. Just the filling that was hanging out got a little crispy. So that's totally okay. So we're going to try it without dipping in the sauce. It's so yum. So that's obviously the inside. So yum. And we were in the sauce because no matter who makes spring rolls, I always need that dipping sauce. It makes it so much better. That's so good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Let me know in the comments as well if you have most spring rolls and what do you use or put in, or if you're going to make these ones. Let me know how they turn out. Make sure to subscribe to see my other upcoming videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.